As a kid growing up in the 2000s, and as a kid who didn't have easy access to it, Xbox Live and its most popular games were fascinating to me. I had an Xbox, and with it, a bunch of games that a 12-year-old kid would normally have, but I didn't have the internet part. I grew up in the middle of absolute nowhere. My house didn't have access to decent internet until I was 17. Does anyone remember these things? This eldritch device. This is how I got by until then. My only experiences with Xbox Live were at cousins' houses or sleepovers at friends' places, or the one time I was allowed to bring my Xbox over to my grandma's house, who for some reason had the fastest internet out of everyone I knew. My time online with games like Black Ops 1 and 2, Modern Warfare 3, Halo 4, and whatever else was limited, and the rest of my time was spent playing their respective campaigns or playing split screen with my brother. Outside of the online component, each of these games had very robust offline offerings. Halo had Forge, Modern Warfare had Spec Ops and Survival, and Black Ops had Zombies, a personal favorite of mine. Fast forward to 2023. Call of Duty menus look like Netflix. Fortnite has no offline mode of any kind. I have 881.1 hours into Apex Legends. Almost every multiplayer shooter feels completely different from the ones we were playing a decade ago. All except for one. Splatoon 3 is the best multiplayer shooter out right now by a wide margin. I may have close to 1,000 hours in Apex, and I really enjoyed that game for what it was, but recently it's lost its luster. And since Splatoon 3 came out last year, I've barely touched it. Splatoon has all the conventions of an Xbox 360 era multiplayer game with a modern twist. Ones that draw you into this weird-ass world and make you never want to leave. Every time you start up a game, you're greeted by Deep Cut, an in-universe broadcast that tells you what you can expect to see when you enter the multiplayer arena. It's one of Splatoon's most iconic aspects, one that on top of making this world feel more like a real place than data on a cartridge, also makes this shooter feel like a sport rather than a murder simulator. It's also just an easy way to introduce new stuff all the time, and it needs it because there really is new stuff happening all the time. Splatfests, challenge modes, salmon run updates, whatever. Also though, fuck Big Man. Yeah, I said it. A lot of modern shooters have massive communities, but none make me feel integrated into the world quite like Splatoon's. Other players are packed into every nook and cranny of the hut world, wearing all kinds of clothes and drawing genuinely funny postcards. You can also see those drawings used as graffiti on the walls of the city. Just like real cities never stop building things and expanding, Splatsville is lined with construction sites and scaffolding and machines and whatever. It gives me the impression that what the Splatoon team is making here isn't quite done yet, as quote-unquote live service games usually aren't. And that translates into the game world. The multiplayer and salmon run lobbies also have locker rooms where you can change your outfit or do up your locker for other players to look at, Victoria style. This one's mine. And then there's Splatfests, these big, community-driven events where everyone picks a side and battles it out in special matches. They're so sick, dude. The amount of fun the community has with these, inside and outside the game, is contagious, and even when I miss a Splatfest, I always see a piece of fan art or something that just makes me smile. Again, it makes me feel like I'm not just opening up a piece of data like I do when I play things like Apex or Modern Warfare. Everything I just talked about contributes to making Splatoon's universe feel like a real place, a place that persists even when I'm not there, and I love that. Now, why does Splatoon 3 specifically feel like that last connecting thread between the early 2010s widely proclaimed golden era of multiplayer games and the always online live service model of the future. Honestly, it's probably just Nintendo being Nintendo. They're made fun of constantly for not getting with the times, and rightfully so, but this could be the one time it's actually worked in their favor. The way I see it, it's everything I mentioned before and the balance Splatoon 3 strikes with its accessible, low-commitment gameplay and the extremely high skill ceiling dedicated players have carved out. For beginners, Turf War is an excellent introductory mode. It's a way to get them used to gyro aim, an essential method of interaction which is half the reason Splatoon is so fun to play in the first place. On top of that, it's simple, easy, and a win or loss doesn't necessarily depend on how many kills you get. But we aren't even at the good part yet. The competitive modes are insane. Wins can turn into losses on a dime. Every bit of ink and terrain is valuable, clothing buffs and weapon choices become way more important, and teamwork is vital. Shit gets crazy. And even competitive doesn't need you to play every day if you don't want to. I stepped back in after a few months and had just as much fun as I did before. A lot of this applies to Salmon Run too. Lower ranks are slow, letting the player figure out how everything works, and high ranks are just absolute chaos. It's no Kino der Toten, but I haven't had this much fun with a wave-based horde mode since. A lot of live service games want you to log in every day and do your dailies or whatever the hell. What the fuck is this? Splatoon never even acts like it wants you to do that. Firing the game up always came from somewhere organic, like I actually wanted to play it. It never felt like the game was wagging its finger at me or locking away cool stuff because I didn't feel like playing when a special event was happening. Splatoon 3 also has a pretty hefty campaign that's completely playable offline. It was never anything legendary, but it was fun enough to where I wanted to see it to the end. There's plenty of ideas explored here that can't really be done in a multiplayer setting, and while visually the game generally looks great, there's set pieces and imagery in the campaign that just couldn't be done in any of the other modes. I don't know how much sense this video actually makes. If it turned into me just praising Splatoon and forgetting the plot entirely, whatever. I stand by the fact that this is the best multiplayer shooter out right now. Recently, Xbox acquired Activision Blizzard, and it seems that as a result, old Call of Duty games have started to see their matchmaking fixed, and people are just flooding back to them in droves. There is a big part of that I think is just nostalgia, but I think there's also a yearning for the simplicity, the pick-up-and-play nature that these older games offer. If only they knew there was one out there that has everything they're looking for.